Rick Vale wasn't expecting anyone. Not on this station, not this far from trade routes, and especially not in the middle of his leftover chili reheat cycle. The knock at the outer hatch was so soft, he thought it was the ventilation system choking again. But it came again, deliberate, almost shy. He paused the heat cycle, grabbed a thermal blanket just in case it was a lost maintenance tech, and popped the inner lock. Standing there was an alien woman, taller than him by a head, soaked in freezing condensation mist. She had pale blue skin with a faint shimmer to it, and wore what looked like repurposed ship insulation wrapped like robes. No shoes. Her long digits curled at her sides as if unsure whether to clasp or defend. Her eyes, pupils shifting in color, met his. "I can be useful," she said softly, voice accented but clear. That was it. No begging, no threats. Just a quiet offer. Rick, half sure this was a prank or hallucination, blinked and stepped aside. "Right. Yeah. Come in before your lungs freeze." She entered slowly, her bare feet making no sound on the metal. He offered the blanket. She accepted it like it was sacred fabric, wrapping herself with trembling fingers. He handed her a steaming mug of recycled water. She sniffed it, then sipped with reverence. When she looked up at him again, there was a strange softness in her gaze. "You give warmth, protection, hydration," she whispered. "The bond is accepted." "What bond?" he asked, already regretting the question. She smiled faintly. "You have claimed me." Rick choked on his own breath. "What?" No. I just let you in because it's cold. You provided cover and nourishment. And now, socks?" He blinked. "Socks?" She glanced down, visibly shivering. Without thinking, Rick went to the drawer and grabbed a spare pair, worn but clean thermal wool. He handed them to her. She accepted them slowly, almost ceremonially. Then, with perfect calm, she sat on his storage trunk, slid them on her delicate feet with deliberate movements, then placed both hands over her chest and closed her eyes. "Covenant sealed." Rick stared. "What covenant? What is happening right now?" She opened her eyes again. "The rituals are in motion. You have offered body cloth, warmth liquid, and space shelter. These acts represent the triad of intention. I am now yours." Rick nearly dropped his mug. "Lady, I was just being nice. And I was ready," she said. "My people taught us to signal signs. You did not have to say the words. You acted them." He looked around the room like someone would jump out and yell, "You're on Galactic Candid Cam!" No one did. Just the hum of old walls and his slow-burning panic. "What's your name?" he asked, stalling. She bowed slightly. "Azayane, of the Ashani dispersed lineage. My designation was unbonded until now. Until, oh stars. Look, I don't know what your culture taught you, but here, giving someone socks isn't a marriage proposal." She tilted her head. "You also offered leftover nutrients. That is equivalent to providing post-acceptance bounty. It's microwaved chili from 3 days ago. I cherish it," she said with pure sincerity. He didn't know what to say. She was beautiful in a strange way, and even in her drenched state she carried herself with a quiet dignity. But there was no mistaking it, she absolutely believed he had just made her his wife. He tried again, slower this time. "You can rest here for the night. But that doesn't mean you're obligated to anything. I'm not claiming you. I don't want a servant. Or a partner. I'm just trying to help." She nodded patiently, as if she'd heard a standard bonding denial before. "Of course. We all say that at first. But the bond has already recognized your actions. You may take time to adjust. I will be silent during your reflection phase." "There is no reflection phase." She simply wrapped herself tighter in the blanket, curled up on the recliner, and stared out the port window like she was already imagining their future children. Rick groaned and rubbed his temples. He tried to focus on his chili, but it was cold now, and somehow his appetite had vanished. After a few moments of silence, she spoke again. "If you wish to consummate immediately, I am prepared. I understand some mates prefer to ease in with tactile bonding first. I am trained in slow compliance. He dropped his spoon. No! No tactile bonding. Just sleep. You sleep there, I sleep here, and we misunderstand everything in the morning. She nodded again. As you command, husband. He didn't correct her this time. Mostly because he didn't know how. As he lay back in his bunk, staring at the flickering ceiling light, he muttered, "This better not be one of those cosmic joke things where I wake up with ceremonial marks and 5 in-laws." Across the room, in perfect silence, Azine gently unfolded the socks and pressed them to her cheek. "I will prove my use," she whispered. "And he will never be cold again." Rick woke up to a sound he didn't recognize, soft humming, mechanical but tuneful, coming from his galley. That was strange. His galley didn't hum. It groaned, hissed, or spat sparks. Never hummed. He shuffled out in a shirt 2 days past laundry, expecting a short circuit or a rat with a musical hobby. Instead, he found Azine kneeling calmly beside the food processor, head tilted, gently whispering to it while massaging the panel. The unit, somehow, was responding. Toast was being dispensed. Real toast. Which it hadn't done in 4 months. "I have established a rapport," she said proudly. "The food beast is yielding." Rick blinked. "You mean the processor?" He responded well to my tone and fingers. "Machines here are sensitive, like you." "I'm not." He stopped, too tired to argue with that. "What are you doing?" "Performing the first service of dawn. Nourishment before touch." He held up both hands. "Stop saying things that sound like we're heading into a backroom of a romance spa." She simply smiled and held out the plate. Burnt toast with purple jelly. No idea where she got that. "Your breakfast, husband. We've got to talk about the H word," he muttered, taking the toast anyway. It was crunchy and vaguely sweet. Not the worst thing he'd eaten. Unfortunately. Azine stood with eerie grace. "I have also repaired the heat coils, trimmed the fabric clusters, and arranged your undergarments by firmness and scent." "You smelled my underwear?" "It is important to identify wear patterns. Helps me know how you move, how you work. Also, your left sock is plotting escape." He rubbed his face. "I didn't ask you to do any of that." She tilted her head. "You said I wasn't obligated. That does not mean I am forbidden. That's not how chores work." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "If you do not wish a devoted partner, why offer food and warmth? Because that's called being a decent person. In my culture, decent men become mated men the moment they acknowledge a woman's survival." He choked on his toast. "I didn't sign anything. No forms. No vows. You gave socks. That was basic hospitality. You offered cloth designed to protect the feet, our species' most sensitive and sacred area. You wrapped me in warmth. You gave me food, place, and silence. Then you allowed me to dream beside you. These are not small things." He paused, uncomfortable. "I let you crash for one night. You've turned it into a lifetime contract." Azine softened. "I am aware your species is slow. I accept your pace. But your actions speak loudly. I hear them." Rick stared at her. She was graceful, intense, and utterly sincere. Not seductive in a manipulative way, just focused. Unshakably committed. She wasn't trying to trap him, she truly believed she'd been claimed. He turned back toward the storage bin, only to find she'd written a neat label on it. Asterisk. Mate approved preserved nutrients. Asterisk. His Kenchili now had a ceremonial title. "Okay," he said, hands on hips. "Let's make this clear. You're not my servant. Or my wife." She nodded once. "Of course. You don't owe me anything." "I know. And I don't want a mate." "You said that already? Then why are you still here?" She stepped forward, slowly. "Because I want to be." He opened his mouth, closed it, and sat down. For the first time in months, the seat cushions weren't lumpy. She had adjusted the foam. "Damn it." She sat beside him, watching quietly. After a long moment, she said, I also performed the initial trial of softness. You will find your sleep unit now smells of familiarity. What does that mean? I laid upon it and exhaled consistently to imprint my presence. You did what? It's part of the bonding progression. You must acclimate to my scent. He groaned. I'm never getting that bed back, am I? She smiled. It is ours now. He leaned back, staring at the ceiling. I didn't ask for a relationship. You didn't have to, she said softly. You opened a door. I walked through. That's not legally binding. Neither is love. That shut him up. For someone with glitter on her temples and no idea what coffee was, she had a way of cutting deep with calm words. He stood. Okay. Let's test this. If I tell you to leave now, will you? She hesitated. Yes. But I will leave part of myself here. Because you let me feel safe. That cannot be undone. He didn't answer. Just went to the console and stared at the docking map. No outgoing ships scheduled. No refugee transports. She had nowhere else to go. He sighed. You hungry? I am always prepared to accept your offerings. I meant, do you want more toast? Yes. Then make it yourself. She stood. Of course. That's what wives do. He didn't correct her this time. Rick wasn't sure when exactly he'd stopped resisting. Maybe it was the day he found his tools sorted by frequency of use and alphabetized by threat level. Or when his food processor stopped spitting sparks and started outputting something that resembled flavor. Or maybe it was when he came back from checking the outer panel seals and found Azine meditating while hugging his spare pillow and whispering his full name like it was a sacred mantra. Either way, the ship was cleaner, warmer, and undeniably weirder. She had started adapting herself to what she thought his preferences were, which was somehow worse than being pursued. She studied human romance media, old dramas, spicy cooking shows, even a dating sim Rick forgot was in the system cache, and began mimicking what she assumed were Earth customs of seduction. One morning, she greeted him in an apron and nothing else, holding toast and saying, Would you like your nutrients buttered, or shall I spread myself thin for you? He dropped his mug. She calmly caught it midair, then resumed posing. He waved his hands. Nope. We're not doing that. I am referencing your human ritual known as breakfast teasing. That's not what it's called. She tapped her chin. Was it continental submission instead? He walked away before his ears set themselves on fire. The worst part? Her deadpan delivery made it so much harder to tell when she was being sincere. Or when she was joking, if her species even had that word. He tried to give her a task, something to redirect her energy. He handed her a diagnostic scanner and asked her to run a ship-wide sweep. 30 minutes later, she returned with a full systems report, annotated in 3 languages, along with a foot massage technique she claimed improved performance in bonded males. Rick stared at her. Why would my feet need diagnostics? You walk too harshly, she said, kneeling again. I wish to soften your burdens. He backed away like she was a heat-seeking missile. I'm good. My burdens are medium soft already. Still, he couldn't deny the results. His hydro tank now filtered twice as fast. His favorite chair no longer tilted awkwardly left. She even installed backup failsafes on the door she first walked through. In case my presence ever becomes intolerable. He tried to explain again that she wasn't required to do any of this, but she only tilted her head. But I desire to. Is that not the essence of partnership? It's supposed to be mutual, he argued. She nodded. Then I ask, what may I do to receive your contribution of softness? That's not how we phrase that. I am eager to try your earth methods. There are many involving oil and friction. He gagged on his coffee. Can we please have one day without body oil? I hid the vials. That is not comforting. Later that week, she tried cooking earth comfort food, which turned out to be soup made from old ration cubes, chili powder, and something she referred to as the liquid of my fruit. It was glowing faintly purple. He stared into the bowl and saw something wink at him. She sat beside him, eyes gleaming. This shall enhance your mating resilience. Not interested in mating, he muttered. You say that, yet continue accepting my soups. The contradiction is telling. He took one sip. His left leg twitched involuntarily. Over time, even his ship's AI started adapting. When he walked into the galley and requested water, the system chirped. Delivering hydration to spousal unit 1. He tried to correct it, and it responded. Override denied. Union status confirmed through consistent gifting, domestic cohabitation, and sleep cycle alignment. He turned to Azine, who simply said, I also synced our toothbrush timers. That's not a thing. It is now. She started claiming parts of his room with little personal items, soft, glowing stones from her satchel, small woven charms, and something she described as a cuddle net. He asked what it was for. It is used to tangle with one's partner and mild play aggression. Rick blinked. Like wrestling? Exactly. But softer. And with consent. She stared at him with those calm, huge eyes. Always composed. Always ready to serve, protect, fix, or soothe. He didn't ask her to be perfect, but she seemed determined to redefine devotion one absurd ritual at a time. And slowly, terrifyingly, it was working. He liked having her around. Not just because the ship now smelled like citrus and warmth instead of damp socks and power conduit grease, but because for the first time in years, someone genuinely cared how he slept, how he walked, and whether he smiled between bites. One night she entered quietly while he lay reading. She wore the blanket he gave her that first night like a cloak and held a single sock, his sock, folded into a careful bundle. I washed this, she said softly, and made it my emblem. That's not normal. I never desired normal. Only you. Rick stared, trying to summon a joke, a sarcastic jab, anything. Nothing came. Just warmth. She set the sock beside him. I will stop saying I am useful. I will start being simply present. He didn't say anything. He just reached out and touched her hand. She didn't flinch. Just smiled. Touch accepted. He didn't argue with her this time. The message from the diplomatic envoy arrived in a neutral tone, but it hit Rick like a crate of misfiled regrets. A shuttle would pass near the sector in 24 hours. They were willing to take on accidental claimants or cultural misunderstandings, provided the alien party agreed. He barely got through the transmission before Azine placed a cup beside him with unsettling calm. I see, she said. He hadn't told her yet. But of course she'd seen the console flash. Her eyes searched his face the way someone watches a door closing. You want me to go? She said, no accusation in her voice. To be unclaimed. To make you normal again. Rick rubbed his forehead. It's not about normal. It's about choice. You didn't choose me. You just interpreted kindness as a vow. I did choose, she replied. I chose to survive. To believe someone might want me. I chose you when I saw you hesitate at the door, when you looked at me like I was someone, not a burden. I chose you again each morning you let me stay. He swallowed hard. I didn't mean for this to get serious. She smiled gently. I know. That's why it did. Silence followed. He couldn't meet her eyes. Couldn't admit what had been growing in the quiet. The strange comfort of her presence. The soft changes in the ship that made it more livable. The way she saw through sarcasm and smiled anyway. She turned. I will pack. I will not resist. That, too, is a form of usefulness. He almost told her to stop right there. Almost. Later, he found her small bag packed with precision. One folded blanket, the repaired sock, her charms, and a vial labeled for resilience. No bitterness. No trace of anger. Just acceptance. She left a note by the airlock. Thank you for letting me matter, even briefly. Rick stared at it long after she disappeared into the docking corridor. He went back to his bunk. Empty. The scent she'd left on the pillow was fading already. The AI no longer greeted him as Spousal Unit 1. The food tasted like cardboard again. The silence was different now. Not peaceful. Hollow. He stared at the console, blinking at the shuttle's updated trajectory. Still time. He grabbed the sock, the damn sock she'd carried like a flag, and sprinted out. When he caught up, she was already walking toward the diplomatic officer, head high. She turned, startled to see him holding the sock like a lunatic. "I was wrong," he said, panting. "It wasn't about duty. You came in talking about usefulness, but the truth is, I've been a wreck for years. And you didn't fix me, you just made me want to get up and eat real food. And argue about foot rituals." Her expression didn't change, but her eyes shimmered. He stepped closer. "I gave you socks and soup because that's what I had. You gave me everything else. And I don't want you to go. You cannot unbind what was accepted," she said softly. "But this time speak it." He held up the sock between them. "I'm claiming you. For real. Voluntarily. For the mess, the weird food, the creepy massage offers, all of it." She stepped forward slowly. "Then I offer myself again, as bonded partner. I bring devotion, mild obsession, and full access to cuddle nets." Rick smiled. "I accept." She leaned into him, forehead against his. "Then it is done. Now may I finally perform the trial of joy? If it involves pancakes and no ceremonial oil, maybe. I make no promises." They returned to the ship together. The AI resumed using Spousal Unit tags immediately. The lights even adjusted without him asking. Everything felt a little warmer, a little funnier, a little less like survival and more like living. Later, as she unpacked, she set the sock carefully on a shelf. "I will clean it again," she said. Rick nodded. "Of course. You're useful like that." She grinned. "Useful. Chosen. Yours." He leaned back in his chair, finally letting himself relax. She curled up beside him without a word. And somewhere deep in the ship's system logs, the AI archived a new entry. Mating ritual, complete. Emotional stability index, improved. Sock count 1.